Let's not stand on ceremony, mate. Let's start the show.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Yeah. It's What's up, everybody? I think we are online, and I'm about to change my camera over here because every time I look at you, it goes
Are you
off.
sure that we have audio that for everybody?
Yeah, we have. I see the levels moving, and another week, another technical difficulty, but I think we're good now. We actually started and everything's running, so we're cool. We're cool.
I believe you.
Yeah,
If no one can hear shit, then somebody will surely tell us. I can't hear it.
Yeah. Let us know in the chat for sure. If you can't see us, I'm gonna try and. I'm not distracted here for a second. You got a little thing above your stream, so we'll get rolling with that. I think we're all good there. Let me just close this.
I'm distracted by this game I'm playing. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we're both distracted at this point.
So professional. I know.
What's screwing me up is that I'm looking at you, but the camera's over here. I got the split screen now, so I'm like kind of looking off. I got to look in the camera. It's weird. Behind the business.
Yeah, we really need to get back in the studio so we can do this in the same room.
Yeah. It works. It works, but it's less than ideal.
This is more convenient, but it's better in the studio, of course.
For sure. So we're back this week on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there.
Intentional or not?
Yeah, intentional or not, doesn't matter. It matters what you do afterwards. That's how it happened. Whatever. But
I suppose, yeah.
Anyway, what would have been a big week at the box office. You probably this time on Sunday you usually just finish up writing our box office on punchdrunkcritics.com. So looks like on paper it would have been a huge week. You got a big buzzworthy movie from Jim Jarmusch. You got Men in Black, and you got Samuel L. Jackson headlining Shaft again. So didn't turn out that way though.
It was a really bad week at the box office for everybody.
Yeah,
all the movies, everything did badly. Even Men in Black International, which started off. Which got first place, but the rankings don't mean anything. I mean, They're just we have these rankings because we like a horse race, but they don't mean anything. Like Men in Black International making $28 million domestic and being the first number one movie in America doesn't mean much because that's a disappointing number.
Yeah.
For that movie. I mean, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that it made that much money. I mean, it made about $100 million worldwide. Even that is pretty low compared to what the previous Men in Blacks have done.
Yeah, I mean, and the worldwide numbers is something. I mean, usually you were only a movie critic or something like that if you're talking about the worldwide numbers until like 10 years ago when people started really understanding what that meant. When you saw movies like Underworld and Resident Evil getting sequel after sequel after getting trashed here in the States, and then people started understanding the worldwide box office. And now that they're catering to the worldwide box office in some of these movies, and by a lot of movies are having segments filmed entirely in China, or having an actor and actress from that from whatever region they're trying to appeal to, I should say, in a large role. You're seeing that more and more. So those U.S. numbers, they really aren't they're for shit nowadays, really.
Yeah, it's the worldwide numbers that really matter. Unless it's a movie that's only going to come out domestic. I mean, there's a lot of movies that are still that way.
Yeah.
Only domestic films, or they're mainly domestic franchises. But for the most part, what you have are, the numbers that matter is worldwide. It may do nothing domestically and then kill it overseas, and that movie still gets made. It's why there's an Escape Plan 3 coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, Escape Plan 3 doesn't do anything here. Escape Plan, none of the Escape Plan movies have done anything here. But they do well overseas because Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Batista, these guys are international stars. They make money. And now they've added more international flavor to the cast, which makes it even more appealing.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of the way it is. But for Men in Black International, this is a pretty low number. And then, I saw it and I was pretty disappointed by the movie overall. I commented to a friend that about 45 minutes into it, I like stopped myself and I was like, "Wait, I haven't laughed yet."
Yeah,
and it was serious. I mean, I seriously was like, "Wait, I have not laughed yet. Like, I don't know what's going on. How do you make a movie with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson and it's not really all that funny?" At least to me, I was not. And it's not that it's a totally awful movie. It's watchable.
Yeah.
But I do expect to laugh at a Men in Black movie, and I think they were trying to be funny, but it wasn't working for me. It just wasn't working.
Yeah, it felt like you would think with just that cast alone that it would with those two put together after Ragnarok that you'd put them in anything and it would work. But I mean, I felt like they tried to lean into the frat boy Chris Hemsworth thing way too much. Like that works. Don't get me wrong. He's perfect in that role. I mean, it worked in Ghostbusters. It worked in Thor, Ragnarok, and Infinity War, and all that, obviously. But it's got to have a little something more behind it. And
what did you call him? The what Hemsworth?
I said Chris Hemsworth, that frat boy feel.
Frat boy Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did you say I said fat boy and I'm fat shaming him for Thor or something?
Rat boy.
Rat boy? No. But yeah, so the thing about it is, and this is what happens with a lot of remakes, reboots, and sequels, especially ones that are unnecessary. A lot of times in Hollywood, if you have a hot movie, they'll take a script for a completely different movie that has some of the similar stuff in it and just slap the title on it. That's obviously not what happened here, but the point is, you can't make a sequel unless it's got the heart of the original one. And I felt like it really didn't. It had the aliens. It had a cool look. It had the shiny silver weapons and MIB headquarters, but it wasn't Men in Black. And that's not just because Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones weren't there.
Yeah, but that is a big part of it, though. I mean, at least it's a big part of why this one didn't do well at the box office. Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson they're big Marvel stars.
Mm-hmm.
They're not big box office stars. Chris Hemsworth hasn't made a dime outside of Marvel, and not really.
Right.
He's not been a huge success outside of playing Thor. And Tessa Thompson definitely hasn't. She hasn't had as many opportunities either. But neither one of them is a box office draw. Whereas Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones are still to this day box office draws.
Yeah.
You put those two in this movie and it does a lot better. It maybe even does double what this one did. You know, but the star power is a big factor. I don't think there's any denying that, and I know that star power doesn't mean what it used to, but it does for star-fronted franchises.
Yeah, and well, I think it doesn't. It doesn't mean what it used to, but people get that confused and think it doesn't mean anything. And I mean, that's not true at all. I mean, it used to be you could throw Arnold Schwarzenegger in anything or Tom Cruise in anything, and people would not even. I mean, you're talking about an age when there was no internet, there was no forums, there weren't places to talk about movies all the time. So all you could know about was possibly if you saw a trailer before the movie, and then maybe a log line, but most importantly, the star. So you didn't say, hey, that new comic book movie where they do this, and this is coming out. You'd say, hey, the new Tom Cruise movie's coming out. And you'd go because of that without knowing anything else. And it's not even that just it's not the case because it's not how people think anymore. It's just not how things are anymore. So you can have the stars, but you got to have something more behind it. It's got to be coming with a little bit more than that. And that's what they missed in Men in Black most of all.
No, I agree. I'm trying to look up that's why it wasn't there. I was trying to look up the numbers for Men in Black 3, and it wasn't coming up anywhere, and it's because it's officially titled MIB 3. Like that's its official title.
I love official titles, and
confuse me.
I'm sarcastic when I say that. Like, I am not a to the letter type guy by any means, and I remember when we first started doing this, laughing every time I'd get like a correction notice from a publicist or something like that saying, no, Top Gun 3, the G is capitalized, but the N is not, or something like that. Like your capitals, your colons, everything has to be exactly like it is on there. So
yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, I'm not really good at proofreading myself either. So I mean, shit like that, I always mess up. Whenever I go back and reread something, I'm like, oof, yep, that's gross. But Men in Black 3, or should I say MIB 3, which hard to believe that was 7 years ago.
It's crazy. All these movies have had a longer than average space between each of the sequels. I mean, it was 5
Hard
years
to
between
believe
1 and 2.
That was 7 years ago that we had Men in Black 3 with Josh Brolin in it.
Mm-hmm.
That it was that long ago. It only feels like a couple years ago to me.
Yeah, it's insane.
But that one opened, and that one was one that was not as well received as the other ones, but it still opened with 54 million. 54 million domestic. It ended with $624 million worldwide. That's how it ended. Now, so obviously, it's 445 million of that was overseas.
Jesus. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's even bigger than I was thinking.
Yeah, but Will Smith was the international star.
Yeah.
So,
and he always has been, and I at this point, I thought he might be falling
off.
off.
Look at Aladdin for proof of that.
Yeah. Well, and then you have Gemini Man. I feel like the Will Smith resurgence is happening, and we're lucky enough to be alive when it is happening. I mean, that's the important thing.
I think you're a little bit more confident in Gemini Man than I am, but
dude, it looks. I mean, it's not going to blow the socks off anything, but it's going to be a fun fall action movie. Like it looks like classic Will Smith, I guess you could say.
I'm curious. I mean, it's Ang Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Ang Lee is usually awesome. He wasn't awesome with Billy Lynn's long halftime walk, which was awful.
Or the Hulk. If we're talking action movies, you can go to the Hulk.
I mean, I don't think his Hulk was really bad. So I mean,
I didn't at the time, but have you watched it lately?
No, but I still don't think I'm going to think it's bad. I just think he was doing something different. I liked his Hulk, so I'm just going to say that I liked his Hulk. But I'm curious about it. The plot is very Looper-esque, which is fine. And Ang Lee has placed himself in this position where he's now a technical forward thinker, where he keeps doing all these things. So he's doing the whole high frame rate with this movie the same way he did with Billy Lynn's long halftime walk, except it actually seems like it might make sense for this movie rather than a drama where everybody's standing around talking.
So what does that mean to a viewer? Not to interrupt you, but I've
if you saw the Hobbit movies and you have an idea of what high frame rate looks like.
It's that motion sickness feeling.
It might be for some.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I always equated to when HD TVs first came out. Somebody would get an HD TV and it would look like a movie would look like a soap opera. It's the only way I can really explain it. That's the only thing I ever see for high frame rate. But The Hobbit, if you look at it on a big screen, it looks different. But
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, and I think I'm feeling like Gemini Man will do better overseas than it will here. Like it'll probably do okay here.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced it'll be great. It's really hard to get audiences to turn out for anything that's not got some sort of, anything that's an original concept, really hard to get people out for.
Yeah, and that's just I used to rally against that for so long, saying no, it's not. They're just being lazy, not making them. But it really is getting to be that where any original movie, it's just not gonna. I have to side with everybody that's like, oh, original movies are dead. It's always sequels, reboots, or superheroes. It's really starting to seem that way. But the nice thing is that it's starting to seem that way for theater movies. But you're seeing a lot more of it, a lot of exploration in that territory in streaming, which is the cool thing about all this. And not just that, but a lot of the original concept stuff is choosing to go, not choosing, but they're ended up with long form television series, a 10-episode Netflix limited series or something like that, as opposed to a movie, which ends up being, I think, better for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, I feel like Men in Black, and let's move back into talk about Men in Black here. I feel like Men in Black might be well suited to becoming a TV series at some point, rather than continuing to do movies. The concept is broad enough that they could easily make episodic television out of it.
Oh yeah.
Same way I said the same thing about Fantastic Four. I would like to see Marvel turn that into a TV series, a Lost in Space style TV series, rather than a movie.
It lends itself exactly to a procedural. I mean, even the name, like Law and Order, CSI, MIB, Alien Homicide, or something like that. But you can definitely see how that would work. But
sorry, I had to fix something. Okay, now I'm back.
It's in a perfect world, an MIB TV show would actually probably be awesome. But in order to keep it looking good, and it just like the budget seems like it would either have to be crazy expensive or somebody that really knows how to find their way around a buck. Because
I mean, on those, I mean, all those Sci-Fi Channel shows last years, you don't need a huge budget to do something like this. Um, I don't think so. I don't think it needs to be something astronomical. Uh,
I mean,
give, give it
it
the
depends on how good it is.
give it the Battlestar Galactica's budget and let it run for 2 or 3 years, and it'll be fine.
Oh,
Just
you know what? Yeah, Galactica looked pretty good. Okay, so I'm thinking like Warehouse 13s and Eureka's, things like that, which I love those shows, but you did have to be ready to kind of roll your eyes at a couple of the effects you'd see and everything.
yeah, you don't want that.
No.
You don't want anything like that. But anyway, but Men in Black International, though, I mean, I actually thought the storyline was pretty good. And this one, stars Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, a duo that we both, I think all of us love from Thor Ragnarok. And it finds, Men in Black London branch apparently infiltrated
Right.
by an alien race that could take another person's form. And Chris Hemsworth plays the quote unquote best agent they've got, who's been kind of slumping lately, or he's been lazy. And Tessa Thompson plays a woman who actually found the Men in Black for herself after an encounter as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really cool idea. So it's not the premise that's flawed. I don't think the Men in Black premise is fine overall. I never had issues with the plot of any of the movies. They're not my favorite. It's not my favorite franchise by far, but I never had any real problems with the franchise. And I don't have a problem with this one either in terms of plot. I just never felt like it brought anything new to the table, which to me is disappointing. If you're going to introduce the first female agent to lead the thing, and you don't really do anything with it.
Linda Fiorentino's not getting your love on that?
Who?
Linda Fiorentino's not getting any love as the first female MIB, the first female lead
She wasn't
in
out there.
a show. Okay, I got
there.
you.
She wasn't out there fighting though. I mean, she wasn't a Man in Black. She wasn't wearing the suit, if I remember right.
At the very so at the very end of the first Men in Black, and it's like what would have been the post-credit stinger, but like right before the credits roll, Will Smith and Linda Fiorentino pull up in their suits, and Will Smith has put his style on them, so they got like they had these weird suits and these futuristic shades, but she was only a suited agent for like 5 minutes, and then she was unceremoniously dropped off in the second one.
Okay, but what I mean is somebody to lead the movie.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah,
And they don't really do anything with it. I almost wish, as much as I like Chris Hemsworth, I almost wish they had made it 2 female agents. I think that it might have worked out better. I almost wish they had gone that route. But I feel like they felt like they had to have, a white male star in it. I kind of feel like they needed to have that, and I just kind of wish they hadn't done that because they didn't do anything with the whole dynamic. Nothing.
I mean,
really felt different despite having her in it. It should have felt completely different.
Yeah, I can see that, but I kind of felt more that it was just like both of them were there. If anything, she was there because they were capitalizing on the Thor Ragnarok piece of it. And it really, like I said before, it just didn't. You're right. It didn't bring anything new to the table, but also forgot to bring things that it was supposed to. Like you mentioned, there were.
They did the neuralizer about 30 times in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. So they forgot some stuff, and they brought some other stuff twice.
They thought that was the only thing that the other movies brought to the franchise was that damn neuralizer.
Yeah, and a lot of white and shiny backgrounds was pretty much all those brought, and a lot of the visual aesthetics were there, but I guess the heart of it, and when they tried to do the old jokes again, like the celebrities that are weird, so they're actually aliens hiding gag they did in the first one. They didn't do it. They didn't do it very good. I think it was Ariana Grande was one of them. This time around,
Donald Glover was one. They were just basically up there on the screens, like it's never who you think.
Yeah,
it's like it's not really funny.
You have Sia and Lady Gaga out there. You didn't put them up, but I mean, like you say, the thing is, at the end of the day, are you going to be disappointed if you go to see it? Possibly, but if you're a huge Men in Black fan, but I think if you're just going for a summer blockbuster movie and you want to eat some popcorn and enjoy a day in the air conditioning, I don't think you're going to be really disappointed with it. It was fun enough. It just wasn't. It didn't fit the Men in Black criteria that I had based on the earlier movies. Is my main thing. It's definitely the worst of the 4.
It's just not funny. I mean, that's the only thing I ask for it to be. I don't expect it to be like an epic blockbuster movie. None of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I expect it to be funny, and it just simply wasn't funny. This was written by the guys who wrote Iron Man, if I remember right. And I just don't think this movie had a lot I don't know. Just didn't
Really?
have. It was missing something. So, oh yeah, it was missing. It was missing humor. That's what it was
Yes.
missing. It was missing humor. Yes, that is bad. See, I was disappointed by it. I mean, what else can I say, man? I expected more.
But, I mean, we've done 22 minutes on it. I don't think there's anything left to say about a movie that I think we both didn't give more than a C
Have we done
to.
22 minutes on it? Really? Has it really been that?
Well, we
long?
started about 8 minutes late, and it's 20 minutes, and we kind of veered a few times. But yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a little too long for Men in Black International, but it is the big movie of the week.
Yeah.
And I think there were some expectations to see how it would do this week, and what it did was $28 million domestic week one, and $102 billion worldwide. So pretty disappointing number for that. And I don't know what this means for the future of Men in Black. Like I said, I don't think there'll be another movie for quite a while, unless this thing kills it overseas. But it doesn't seem like it's going to do that either. So they're
is it not
going to
released?
have a platform for it, which means TV or something else, probably, or comic books, which they already do that stuff anyway. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Didn't they have a Men in Black cartoon show in the late 90s?
I think they did.
I would love to see a retrospective on all of the film-based cartoon shows that came out, like Beetlejuice had. But there were a lot of inappropriate ones too, like movies in the 80s that were strictly for adult audiences, like Rambo had a cartoon show.
That Boogie Nights cartoon was really
that was awesome. Roller Girl, man. First time I loved an animated character.
Oh, yeah.
Introduced me to anime. So Dead Don't Die I set up this scene, and it looks like the pictures came through a little bit zoomed, so our faces are over Bill Murray's. That was funny. But yeah, so the Dead Don't Die came out as well. Jim Jarmusch. Everybody was talking about this.
Were they? Were they?
I heard a lot of people talk about it. Everybody, not everybody in the, like civilians. Everybody in the movie world, I guess.
To be fair, I know some people who are really interested in the commercial sport, because this is probably the most mainstream thing Jim Jarmusch has ever done. Man, let me take that back. It is the most mainstream thing Jim Jarmusch has ever done. So yeah, I can understand why people are talking about a Jim Jarmusch movie for the first time in ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for good reason. I mean, the trailers boasted the greatest zombie cast ever. I mean, we got Bill Murray, Adam Driver, Tilda Swinton, Chloe Sevigny, Tom Waits, Iggy Pop, RZA, Selena Gomez. It's got a fantastic group of people in it.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi, Danny Glover, a great group. Caleb Landry Jones. Like, you keep going down, and the cast gets better and better. And then you watch the movie, and you're like, oh, they didn't do anything with any of them. Okay. Well,
yeah, they're glorified cameos. Awesome.
Like, oh, he didn't do anything with any of those characters. Oh, oops. Well, at least he got them all. I mean, they're all people he's worked with before, for the most part, except for like Selena Gomez and a couple others.
Yeah.
He's worked with Tilda and Murray and Driver before. He's worked with these people a bunch of times. So I know why, and RZA. I know why they signed up to be part of the movie. You know?
Yeah, I just wanted to go. One thing that annoyed me about it is the whole greatest zombie cast ever thing. Like, if you would have said the greatest cast in a zombie movie, okay, but if you're gonna say the greatest zombie cast, you have to bring the heavy hitters from all the zombie movies throughout times, who of course are mostly dead and nobody would know anyway. But I'm just saying, but
to be fair, most of the people in the movie end up as zombies, so I mean, it kind of still is.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. This felt to me like
I don't spoil anything for you people, but there's really not a whole lot of mystery to this movie. Okay, I mean, it is basically an homage to Night of the Living Dead, and Jim Jarmusch has been pretty clear to this. George Romero was a huge influence on the movie. There are many references to Night of the Living Dead in the movie, so it's fine. Mm-hmm. And it's not a particularly deep movie, so it's not as if I'm spoiling a whole bunch of shit by talking about that. Most people end up as zombies anyway.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter. But I went into this, and I'll admit my expectations were pretty high. I love Jim Jarmusch. Or at least I should say, the movies from Jim Jarmusch that I like, I tend to love.
What are because I've never had my intro to Jim Jarmusch with the exception of Ghost Dog, which I didn't even know was Jim Jarmusch, but I've heard his name 100 times.
He did Patterson a couple years ago with Adam Driver.
Okay.
He did Only Lovers Left Alive with Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston when she played vampires. Oh God, what was the Western that he did? That's freaking awesome.
Is it all weird stuff though?
Dead.
Dead Man.
Is that what it was?
It was in the mid-90s. It was Dead Man. I got IMDb.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, Dead Man. Dead Man, and one of my personal favorites, Night on Earth, which is great. I'm not a big fan of Broken Flowers. In fact, I hate that movie. I hate that movie. One of my least favorite Bill Murray movies. The Limits of Control is pretty awful. I remember that one. And God, there's another one that I really like. Oh, Down by Law is great. So Jim Jarmusch is kind of hit or miss with me, but the movies I like, I love. And I expected to love this one. His take on the zombie genre. He usually does. He tries out every genre.
Yeah, it appears so.
Kind of puts his own spin on them. And I was really excited to see what he would do with zombies. And unfortunately, he doesn't really do much.
Yeah.
He uses a lot of things, and he doesn't follow through. Like, really early on in the movie, he kind of pulls a Deadpool and breaks the fourth wall, which I think is an interesting way to approach it, because a lot of horror movies have been doing that lately. A lot of Final Girl movies, in fact, a movie called Final Girl did that, where the characters are really kind of knowing that they are in a zombie movie.
Right.
So they play up their archetypes. And that's a fun angle for someone like Jim Jarmusch to take. He tends to like to deconstruct genre.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really deconstruct the genre. He doesn't really do anything but have a bunch of people in this small town stand around and act like idiots. But he doesn't really do anything special with it. And I thought that was the most disappointing thing for me, is that I expect a lot from Jim Jarmusch to explore this genre, and he never really seems interested in doing it.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I just, like, again, it sounds like you were a lot more prepared for it, because Jim Jarmusch, like I said, is a name I've heard hundreds of times. I didn't realize I'd seen his movie, but Ghost Dog I saw, but I've never seen anything else on this list. So I just felt like Wes Anderson smoked too much weed and fell asleep with a George Romero movie on, and this is what came out the other end. It feels like that kind of Wes Anderson, you're in this world, but maybe not, kind of deal. Adam Driver is one person that he and Benedict Cumberbatch hold a weird spot in my heart, and that's they both, and to judge people visually if I can for a second, weirded me the fuck out when I first looked at them and saw pictures of them before I saw them acting. They're odd looking individuals, if we're being honest, at front. Yeah. But then once they act, the personalities or something, it really grows on you. I mean, after Black Klansman, obviously Star Wars, Now Dead Don't Die. There's something about Adam Driver that I do really enjoy, and I liked him in this movie for sure.
Yeah, now he's a lot of fun in this movie as the guy who seems to know the most about this zombie outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
The movie does, like I said, some really interesting things. Like I like the fact they're in this small little town, ostensibly a conservative town,
mm-hmm.
but also like this place where they're really woke about climate change. Like everybody's talking about climate change.
Yeah.
And it's on all the radio stations and the TV stations, and everybody's talking about it. I guarantee you that's not happening anywhere else in the country. But in this one little small town, they're all really talking about it. And of course, it's because of the climate change and the entire planet being knocked off its axis that causes the zombies to rise. How that works, I don't know. But it's a funny idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't really follow through. I mean, you have, like you say, Adam Driver's character, sort of the knowing guy who knows, the self-aware guy.
Right.
Well, Bill Murray's the clueless guy, Mm-hmm. And he did this really interesting thing with Selena Gomez's character when she first kind of introduces herself as Zoe, and there's like all these sparkles that fly into the air, and you're like, oh, that's Jim Jarmusch winking at us and her kind of pop starlet personality, her superstardom, and then he doesn't do anything with that either. And I'm like, so what's the point? I mean, there's a lot of little things like that where like he's setting something up that there's never any follow through. And for all the times where I like chuckled at some of the jokes, and there's plenty of things to chuckle about. I mean, with a cast like that, they're all excellent in their small roles.
Mm-hmm.
I could not get away from the fact that Jarmusch was not pushing anything forward in this movie.
Well, I'm really kind of glad to hear you say this because a lot of times I'll admit straight up I don't get a lot of the art housey type directors movies like Wes Anderson, Jim Jarmusch. I'm trying to remember some other names. I'm not remembering them, but and knowing that this wasn't intentional, or not, maybe not. Maybe it was intentional, but is not the norm. Makes me feel a little bit better because watching it, what it feels like is you just drank way too much soda and you got up to the bathroom too many times and you missed about a quarter of the movie. It's like it feels like you missed important scenes, but it's just that they never followed. Like you said, never followed through, and it's kind of a weird feeling. But I still was interested all the way through. I still enjoyed myself probably more than I thought I would, and not just on the subject matter, but they do have a lot of people in here that they don't do enough with.
Yeah.
But they do enough to make make the sum of its parts worth watching the movie, I guess.
Yeah.
Bill Murray, I almost don't want to like him because he can literally just walk through a scene nowadays and not do anything, and everybody's like, "Oh, I love Bill Murray." But there's a reason for that. It's just because he's just fun to watch, and his kind of laissez-faire, I'm just me situation that he puts through now is awesome, and it's just so much fun to see.
Bill Murray's incredible. He's reached a point in his career where he can basically pick and choose whatever he wants to do. He can show up on set and be himself, and that's perfectly fine. And he does that throughout this movie, I think, which I think is great. You cast Bill Murray because you want that.
Right.
You cast Bill Murray for something else. You cast Bill Murray because you want that. It's like I compared to a friend. I was talking to a friend. I was like, I compared it to casting Diane Keaton in a movie. You cast Diane Keaton because you want Diane Keaton in the role. You want the character to be Diane Keaton.
Yeah.
The same way you want the character in Bill Murray movie to be Bill Murray.
Yeah.
That's why you do it. You don't don't go and you get somebody else to do it. You just get them to do it, and you write these roles specifically for them for that very reason.
But by the time a lot of
those are both two people who don't do a lot of movies each year.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want to do and stuff that's designed for them.
And by the time a lot of people reach that stage in their career, they've stopped being, you hire actors for two reasons, who they can be and who they are. And really by the time, in the beginning of an actor's career, they spend all their time trying to convince everybody else they can be whoever they need them to be. But then it's funny because as they get super successful, like pieces of their natural personality start to eke out, and they start to morph their performances from being somebody totally different to being who they are becomes this amalgam at the end of this.
I don't know
different
anybody
thing.
else. There are very few people who have reached that point. Like even somebody like Sylvester Stallone isn't at that point.
Al Pacino.
He's not at that point either. You don't cast Sylvester Stallone to be Sylvester Stallone. You still cast him to play other roles, to be a different character entirely. Unless he's making a movie for himself, like when he makes a Rambo or another Rocky or whatever.
Is he cast in any other movies?
We just talked about Escape Plan.
Yeah, well, isn't that just Rambo and Rocky Light?
It's just but there are very few actors who reach that point where they're expected to just be themselves. Like in every role, and the movies are designed for them to just be themselves. There are very few people like that. And Bill Murray and Diane Keaton are two I can think of, and I can't think of too many more that are like that anymore. It's just very, very rare. You got to have a very distinct personality for that. And I don't know very many actors that have reached that level. And considering the way things are now in terms of, the way we look at stars nowadays, I'm not sure we'll see very many more of them.
Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition because I'm saying to be themselves, and what I actually mean is be the character we all expect them to be every time. Like if you would say Sylvester Stallone's not hired to be himself, I would argue that he is, but he really isn't. He's hired to be that same type of person he's in every movie,
Right.
which isn't
But
him. But
that's not necessarily him.
no, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
a role. That's like saying Michael Cera is always cast to be this type of character.
right.
That's different than saying Bill Murray is just hired to just be Bill Murray.
Yeah, and as we know from This Is the End, Michael Cera is very different in person.
I've met the guy, and kind of he's very meek and shy.
Oh, and I was talking about This Is the End when they try to play him in real life like he's some kind of pervert cokehead.
Oh yeah, well I
Love
don't
that
think he's
movie.
that. But again, I don't know. But yeah, he's very meek and shy in person. At least he was to me. Then again, I can be intimidating, so who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I thought more. I felt there should have been more with the Dead Don't Die than there was.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm kind of getting. I'm not saying I'm tired of zombie movies, but they kind of gone full circle and back again. Like
Yeah.
there was a time where they were making a lot of, generic zombie movies. And then we got different twists on zombie movies, rom-coms and zom-coms and all sorts of different things. And and now I'm like, and now they're going back around again. I'm just kind of bored of all of them.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're
bored of the deconstructions of zombie movies too. I'm like, all right.
It's kind of crazy that in let's see, it's 2019, so in 18 years, because Dawn of the Dead and Shaun of the Dead were around 2002, and that's when the whole thing kind of kicked off. So in
I would love to see somebody make a new Dawn of the Dead that's just a straight up zombie movie again.
Just like a remake of it again.
I'd rather just see that.
Yeah.
Than see another comedy or a romance or a zombie movie where they're not actually zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
It's a disease, like the rage or whatever. Yeah.
Right. I don't want to see 28 Days Later. I'd rather see the zombies. I mean, I'd rather see somebody just make a straight up zombie movie.
Well, we've gotten to the point.
Remember who wrote that Dawn of the Dead, right? The one that Zack Snyder directed. You remember who wrote that?
Yeah, it was James Gunn.
Yeah, it's James Gunn.
Yep. That was like one of his first big things, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, I didn't. I was about to say that I can't believe in 17 years that they haven't gone like 2 or 3 years without making some kind of high, big name zombie movie. But I'm actually intrigued by what you just said, because thinking back on it, I can't remember the last truly like horrifying zombie movie. Even Dawn of the Dead, the 2001 Dawn of the Dead, was more of an action horror than a horror movie.
Yeah,
when you think about it. So, I mean, the last truly horrifying zombie movie, I can't tell you.
Yeah, I can't think of what the last one was that I've seen either. It's not as if we haven't seen it. You remember we interviewed George Romero for, was it Land of the Dead?
No, it wasn't Land of the Dead. It was
What was that?
Farm of the Dead. It was something of the Dead.
Farm of the Dead.
No, it wasn't Farm of the Dead.
That wasn't it.
But it was like Island. You pretty much.
It wasn't Day of the Dead.
No. This is the nice thing about being out of the studio. I can actually research stuff, except for my crappy computer is running way too much right now, so I type something and it comes up like 10 minutes later. Yeah, damn it, I don't remember what it was, but it was like on a farm. It was after Land of the Dead, because that's the one that
was it Survival of the Dead?
Yes, Survival of the Dead. That's it. 2009. Yep. And that was his last. That was his last zombie movie. I didn't figure that, but we talked to him, and interviewed him on his very last zombie movie. That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember one goddamn thing about that movie. I'm not even sure if I watched it in full. I just don't remember much about it.
I just remember how kind of disappointed I was, because I'm getting to sit down and talk to the great George Romero. The one.
That was a cool day.
Was that?
That was a cool day.
It was a very cool day, but the thing is that I had to talk to him about a movie that not only was it not good, but it kind of went against everything he stood for, because it was the first and only one of his zombie movies that he used a lot of CGI in.
Yeah.
And like he used his practical effects. Tom Savini, anybody that knows anything about horror movies knows who Tom Savini is. Came about in Romero movies with these amazing practical effects. Greg Nicotero, all those guys did. And for him to go to CGI, and I had to bring it up to him, and you could tell the man was just, old and kind of tired. And he was like, I'll be honest, he was like, when you do a blood effect with practical, if anything gets messed up, you got to do it all over again. You have to mop the floor. It's like 2 hours. CGI, you just do it as many times as you want. I was like, oh, well, I guess that works. But moral of the story is I would love to see a truly terrifying, like, dead serious zombie movie. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind seeing that again, depending on who does it.
Yeah. Speaking of doing things again and again, Shaft. The sequel that nobody expected, but it's not even a sequel, I guess. It's not a reboot, because it's the same characters. I'm not really sure what we call this.
It's a sequel.
They just don't need a number on it? Just Shaft again?
I mean, it's calling it Shaft again. I mean, I was trying to explain this to because we hosted Tim and I hosted coming attractions for the DC Film Society on Tuesday.
Right.
Something I love to do. We do it twice a year in the summer and the winter, where we just show. I pick 30 movie trailers and I show them to an audience of diehard film lovers, and we talk about the trailers. And they pick the ones they love the most. I'll talk about that in a minute. There's an interesting development there, which I thought was cool in a way. But anyway, the Shaft movie came up, and I was trying to explain to Tim, yes, this is a sequel. It's a sequel to the John Singleton movie from 2000. And it's like, well, why? This was his big question all night. This is a question he always asks: is why make it? Why do they feel the need? Blah 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 blah. And I held up a sheet of paper with all the movies on it. And I was like, see all the 30 of these movies on here? They're all made for the same reason: money.
Yeah.
All of them. I don't care what it is. All of them are made for the same reason. I hate the question of what's the point? Why make this movie? I hate that question. It's a dumb question because everybody already knows the answer to it before they ask it. So I don't know why they do it.
And more importantly, they want to lie.
Because they act as if because the movie was old and it was great, that it should never be remade. It's like, I mean, on a personal level, yeah, I don't want to see every movie get remade. But that's not the way we can look at things. We have to look at things in their totality, and we know why they're being made. Now, Shaft,
they don't destroy the original print when they make a remake. So
exactly, it doesn't hurt anything. I mean, they've made Shaft. They practically ignored the other Shafts when they made the 2000 Shaft. I mean, they had the 1971 movie, and Richard Roundtree was there for that one, and he's back for this one. They have tied those movies together, where now there's 3 generations of Shafts.
Yeah.
If you remember in the 2000 movie, Samuel Jackson and Richard Roundtree, he was like his nephew.
Yeah, Richard Roundtree was his uncle. Yep.
Right, and this one they made him his son, and they did that so that they could literally have the 3 generations of John Shafts.
Right,
that's why we did it. But does anybody remember the 2000 movie? Like, even if you saw it, do you remember that detail? Really?
No. I'm the wrong person to ask because I loved that Shaft. It was a guilty pleasure. I watched it over and over again for so many years.
You're also 40 years old. I mean, or whatever you are, or something like that.
37.
But the point is, most people weren't even around when that Shaft came out. Most people who are going to see a movie like Shaft,
yeah, that's true,
aren't old enough to even remember that movie and don't care and wouldn't care if they did. So making that kind of
it doesn't matter, yeah. Making
that kind of retcon. I mean, Tim didn't know it, and nobody in the audience knew that. I knew that. So I mean, it's just. So that's why you do these things. That's why you remake these movies. That's why you make these movies. Because there's generations of people who aren't going to catch up with the old one. They just never will. They never will do it. We had the same conversation when it came to The Lion King. You'll be amazed, in a room full of people, there were a good number of people who had never seen the 1994 Lion King. Which may sound insane.
It's 25 years ago.
Right. You have to remember that. It's 25 years ago. And these are older people. Older people hadn't seen it. So younger people probably haven't seen it either.
No, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's why these movies get remade. You do it for new generations, and if you're doing it right, you add something that is contemporary, that speaks to the current generation.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I thought they did right with Aladdin, is that they updated certain aspects to make it speak to this generation who may not have seen the 1990 movie.
Yeah,
haven't seen it, so they made it more timely. They gave Jasmine more of a motivation. Gave her more purpose because she's sort of a hanger-on in the first movie. She's just sort of there. She has purpose in this movie, so that's what they did to make it timely for this moment. And when they remake it in 30 years, they'll make it speak to those people. That's what you're supposed to do if you're going to make these movies. So I just don't. When these movies come out, I'm just like, you make them for the new generation, and if you do it right, you'll make them interested in the previous movie.
Well, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. And there's one thing I want to add is that, yeah, I get pissed off when people say, "What's the reason to make this?" as well. But there's 2 levels above it. Because I think whenever people say that, almost always they want to say the art is the reason to make it or something like that. And the reason to make a movie is, number 1, for the money, for the people making it, I mean. And then number 2 is for people to have fun, not to make art. There are movies that you can have with a message and you can have as art pieces, but primarily cinema was invented for enjoyment for entertainment, for people to have fun. And if you don't have fun sitting with Samuel L. Jackson walking around his shaft for 90 minutes, then I don't want to know you. I mean, that original 2000 Shaft was so much fun for me. If you remember who the bad guy was in it?
Yeah, it was Jeffrey Wright.
Well, he was one of them. Christian Bale was the original, was the other bad guy. He played because the whole thing is about, the whole plot of that movie is this rich racist white dude beats and kills this black guy that's got out on a date with his girl, who I think the girl was white too, and that's what caused the original problem. And he gets out on bail, and it's basically like a privilege thing, which is quite a bit ahead of its time, for the way it talked about everything then. And then Jeffrey Wright played Peebles, who was the neighborhood Hispanic drug dealer, who was like a secondary bad guy, I guess. But it was so much fun, man, just watching him go around and do his thing. And that's why I didn't mind that they were making another one. That's why I didn't mind when they make reboots of movies like this that are just a lot of fun to watch. Because at the end of the day, screw everything else. If it's fun, it's worth it.
I think the only thing I would complain about with this movie, because I don't think it's that great of a movie. It's fine. Mm-hmm. And when I went on, I did Good Morning Washington on Friday. Mm-hmm. I usually do on Fridays, but I don't always come to the studio. But I went into the studio for this one because it was Men in Black week, and it's kind of a big movie. Mm-hmm. But when I was talking about Shaft, I was like, yeah, people who go to see it and they like Samuel L. Jackson are going to be entertained by it. Mm-hmm. If you like Samuel L. Jackson, and this movie to me has so little in common with the previous Shafts in terms of tone. Mm-hmm. Like, I compared it to The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yeah.
That's what I called it. And I was like, if you like Samuel L. Jackson in that movie, then you'll be fine with him in this. Mm-hmm. If you don't care that this isn't the down and gritty Shaft of the previous movies, the blaxploitation Shafts, then you'll be fine. Then you'll be okay with this. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is not going to be happy with it. But it's a perfectly passable film. It's meant to be fun. I don't think you're meant to think about it too hard. Mm-hmm. And I think it works on that level. Do I necessarily want to go and watch it again? Yeah, probably not. If I do that, I'd probably just rather watch the Hitman's Bodyguard.
Well, do you think
if I'm in that kind of mood, I'd rather just watch Samuel L. in that. But he's 70 years old, isn't it?
It's insane. It's insane. He looks like he's maybe 42. I mean, people forget how old he is, but he was 43 when he was in Coming to America.
Old in juice.
He was old in Coming to America in the 80s. Yeah, I mean, he's been old forever, and he still looks like he's one of these people. You see these people every once in a while that look the same age for about 74 years, and he's one of them. But the only thing I will say, especially since we were talking about Men in Black and the when you have a franchise, the debt you owe to the movies to stand up with the movies that came before it. Shaft, the only thing, and I don't have the best perspective on this as a suburban white dude, but Shaft has always been.
Not a good perspective on anything as a suburban white dude.
No, well, it's not valid, at least I'm told. So, I do what I'm told. But it didn't seem. He talked about what the one in the 2000s had to say. Everybody knows. Shaft was a big part of the blaxploitation movement in the 70s. Did you feel let down that they didn't really address that having something to say aspect of everything?
Like I said about making a movie relevant to the time period, that's what this movie was doing. Mm-hmm. It was. I don't think they necessarily needed to make it such a comedy to do that, but they were making a point about the way we thought about violence back in the 70s and even the early 2000s compared to the way we think about it now.
Right.
And that's a relevant point to make. And that's not my beef with the movie, is that it was making that distinction that the times have changed. Those ways of thinking are outdated. But it still spent a good portion of its time mocking millennials, though. So it kind of tried to have it both ways a little bit. It was kind of trying to have it both ways. So I know I didn't feel left out. They took the approach they needed, and that's it. And hold on a second, I'll be right back, man. You go ahead and filibuster for a second. I got a cat whining back here.
I thought something was dying in the back then. So, yeah. Of course, Travis likes to choose and leave right when I finish everything I have to say about a movie, and there's and that's the last movie we have. But So Shaft, Dead Don't Die, and Men in Black International out this week. What else is going on? Jessica Jones season 3, the last of the Netflix Marvel series, had debuted over the weekend on Netflix. Murder Mystery, the Adam Sandler Jennifer Aniston movie that actually a lot of people. I'm not one of them yet because I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of people are actually. Oh, we have a special guest in studio today. A lot of people are saying it's really good. Have you watched it?
What, Jessica Jones?
Well, actually, I jumped over that to Murder Mystery.
I did see Murder Mystery, actually.
A lot of people are saying it's good. Are they?
I wouldn't go that far, but it's not terrible.
Oh, well. I
No,
mean,
it's actually watchable. I actually like Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston as a duo.
mm-hmm.
I thought they were pretty good together in Just Go With It some time ago.
Yeah,
Can't
Brooklyn
remember.
Decker.
It's one of his better rom-coms.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about them. They have good chemistry. But
Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, or Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston?
Oh, it's Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody and Drew Barrymore.
That's true. She's
Anybody and Drew Barrymore.
She really is a little piece of heaven. That smiley little cherub.
Oh,
so,
yes. I could get a movie with her and like Winona Ryder, and I don't know.
Did that not happen in the 90s? How did that not happen in the 90s?
If it did, I don't remember it.
That seems
Somebody
like.
can tell me what it was. I would go watch that movie right now.
But yeah, Jessica Jones season 3. So have you seen it? I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't started it yet. I may try to watch some of it tonight. They were being real stingy with the screeners for this one this year, so we didn't even apply to review it early like we normally do.
Yeah.
So I think they're probably just kind of like, let's just get it out.
Yeah, let's get it over with.
It's the end, and so let's just
Yeah.
they're being real stingy with it. So.
I mean, that's kind of like I haven't finished Iron Fist the second season. I got like 2 episodes. I know that doesn't matter because it sucks, but
I haven't done the most recent season of Punisher. I haven't watched it.
I did Punisher, but I didn't do the last season of Daredevil, and it's one of those things like I
Me
can't.
neither. I didn't do that either.
I can't believe I didn't do it, but I'm like it's number one.
Too much stuff to watch.
In the last 5 years, dude, the amount of media available to consume that's worth watching is ridiculous.
I was running through a list of all the things that I still haven't watched that I want to catch up on, like the last season of Kimmy Schmidt, the last season of House of Cards, the 3rd season of True Detective. All this stuff I haven't watched yet. I haven't watched the Deadwood movie yet, and I was anticipating the Deadwood movie more than just about anybody.
Yeah.
And I haven't watched it yet. There's so much stuff that I have not watched. I want to start watching Ozark, because I keep hearing it's great.
Yeah, me too, with the Jason Bateman, right?
Yeah, and I want to watch The Handmaid's Tale. There's all this stuff I want to watch, and I can't find time to watch any of it. Right now, I am in the middle of the 2nd season of Runaways. I'm almost done.
And
so I'm like,
just to clarify the importance of that,
I got to move right into something else.
Just to clarify the importance of that, that's two movie guys, 2 film critics that spend all of their free time watching this stuff, don't have time to do it. So the average person out there, it's just there's too much shit, man, and it's like you really just have to give up on half of it.
Yeah, that's why. That's why we don't cover that much TV on the site, if I'm perfectly honest, because I don't get to watch any of it. I mean, as a wrestling fan, I've got about 20 hours of wrestling I need to watch every week, so there's just not enough time.
Jesus Christ.
There's not enough time to watch anything else. It's just too difficult. So, I mean, it's just...
Wait, 20 hours of wrestling?
Well,
break that down for me.
There's not literally 20 hours, but there's 3 hours of Raw on Monday. There's 2 hours of SmackDown on Tuesday. There's 205 Live in NXT. That's 2 more hours. So that's, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something like that already. There's a lot of wrestling. And that's just part of it still.
All right,
so,
fair enough.
Right.
Yeah, so... and then apparently, we mentioned earlier during Men in Black that the part of the plot was about aliens that could morph and be undetectable, which apparently is the go-to plot line for aliens this year. Captain Marvel obviously had the Skrulls. Men in Black has something similar, and everybody heard about how Dark Phoenix had to change their ending, and now we find out that it was not just similar, it was exactly that ending.
Yeah, that was weird. It was Ty Sheridan was talking about that. He played Cyclops in the last 2 movies, and he was talking about how one of the reshoots was because they needed to change the aliens, the villains, from being Skrulls. Except they didn't need to. That was the weird thing about it. He said that they were originally written as Skrulls. In the movie, they're the Dabari, and I saw some sites that were acting as if the Dabari are a brand new alien race. No, they are in the Marvel universe, and their entire race was destroyed. Their entire planet was destroyed by the Phoenix Force. Go read your X-Men comics, you assholes.
Jesus.
But no, I mean, if you're gonna write that, then
No, I'm just messing with you.
It takes 2 seconds to go on Marvel Wiki and type in Dabari, just to check.
Well, 4 seconds, because you know 2 seconds to figure out how to spell it.
I mean, they're in the movie synopsis. I mean, or something. You can find it. But anyway, the fact is they didn't do it. But the thing is, they didn't need to change it from the Skrulls at all, because there are very few things that Marvel and Fox shared the rights to. The Skrulls are one of them.
Really?
So they could have just used the Skrulls. In fact, if I was Fox, I would have used the Skrulls, and I would have pretended like shit that this joint was connected to Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
I would have pretended, because your average person still does not see the difference. I still get people who still ask why there were two different Quicksilvers. Like, I still get people who wonder the shit like that.
Yeah.
Because your average person does not know what movie is under which studio. They think they're all Marvel Studios, and this is not the way it was. I would have played it up like a mug. I would be like, yeah, man, this one could have ties into Captain Marvel. It should be a lie, but
yeah, well, who cares?
The person doesn't know.
After opening weekend, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what I would have done. It would have been shady as hell, but I would have done it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, well, the industry is shady as hell. So, anything else major in news this week? I know we're running up on our hour, but
it was kind of a quiet week this week. At least I felt it was. I felt it was pretty quiet. Paul Rudd was talking about Ant-Man. She's not sure if there's going to be an Ant-Man 3, but
I don't know how they couldn't. I mean, he was such a big part of Endgame, and the last 2 movies were both so excellent. I mean,
that's not the point, though. I feel like his story is done. I feel like his story wrapped up. A lot of these characters, their story has really wrapped up.
I don't think so, and here's why. He's got at least 1 movie left, because his story throughout has always been so closely connected to his being a father, and his daughter isn't fully raised yet. So his story should end when his daughter's raised, and he passes the mantle.
I mentioned that in my write-up about his comment. I mentioned that the only story that I could see possibly being left for him is for Cassie to grow up and become a hero, because she does in the comics. Become stature. So I mean, I can see his story continuing in that way.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they need an entire movie for that, or if that's something they turn into a Disney Plus series or something. I don't know.
I'm okay with that, as long as it's not just an ending of the story itself. I mean, there's still a lot of things. I like the dynamics of that so much. I'm still pissed off that Marvel didn't take advantage of Michael Pena to do a recap, even as like a Marvel one-shot, to do a recap of the Marvel universe up to that point as his character from Ant-Man. I think that would have been amazing. But, there's still a lot to do there. If they do it via TV show, I don't care. But I feel like we just got into having the team together, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I know that happens a lot, where a lot of times the story is all about getting there. But it always feels like a ripoff when you get to where you're going and you see them. I mean,
you just want to see Ant-Man and Wasp get married.
It did cross my mind a second ago, but I wasn't going to say it for that reason. But no, seeing them fight together, seeing them do a legit battle. In Endgame, you get like 4 seconds in that final battle, seeing them fight together, and then obviously some in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it really wasn't much of them fighting as a team. We haven't get to see them really as a team throughout the movie yet. And that's what I want to see.
It just feels like for Scott Lang, he's made the full transition into hero. I mean, he literally helped save the world. Without him, the world does not get saved at all. Everything stays snapped.
Yeah.
All because of him. He's come full circle. To me, it feels like his story is done.
Story-wise, you're right, but
if there's another story with him, he would be peripheral to it. That's the way I look at it. I mean, that's the way I see it. And honestly, I don't know where Marvel stands. I mean, we've got announcements, or at least not really announcements. They haven't announced anything, even though we know there are movies coming up, like Eternals and Shang-Chi and whatever. We know there's stuff coming up, but they haven't announced anything. They've not announced an Ant-Man sequel yet. They have not done anything like that. They don't even seem to be teasing anything like that either.
No, I think we're all just assuming that every character gets 3 movies, but that's never been said.
We're assuming it because so far it's been the case, with the exception of Hulk. And the only reason the Hulk hasn't is because of his rights don't fully belong to Marvel Studios.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. But so far, everybody who has been introduced has had 3 movies, and then that's been done. That's been it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I honestly, if there's one thing I'm looking forward to this year, and this is going to make the problem we talked about earlier even worse, it's Disney Plus, because not just for the content, but I'm legitimately interested to see how it changes the Marvel universe, like how this extra dynamic of TV shows that we've been promised are going to be closely interwoven the same way as the movies are, how that's going to affect the whole thing, and how it's all going to weave together. It's something that's very interesting, and it could, the same way that the success of the Marvel Universe kicked off so many copycats and people trying to do the same thing. It kicked off the whole thing where every movie that comes out now is a universe, the Dark Universe, DC, Marvel, the Babysitter's Club universe. Whatever comes out has a universe. So
there will be a Babysitter's Club universe if you keep talking like that.
I know, right? So I'm interested to see where this next evolution takes everything. So, but I don't have time for it. But I'm going to try and make time for it.
I mean, we'll make time for the Disney Plus Marvel shows.
I'll just sleep when I'm dead.
We'll make time for those. I mean, I'm excited for everything they're doing on Disney Plus in terms of Marvel and Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I am, because the people involved with the movies are the ones involved with the shows.
Right.
It's not like, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is barely connected to the Marvel Universe. I mean, stuff like that. And there was not open hostility, but there's a clear disconnect between Marvel Studios and Marvel TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
when it came
100%.
to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and some of the other Marvel, and obviously the Marvel Netflix shows, disconnect. That disconnect is gone with Disney Plus. So I'm excited on that level.
Yeah,
we would never get the but the Falcon and Winter Soldier story on the big screen. We'll never get that movie. That movie never happens.
Yeah, and
But series with them, if I'm going to get that, because I would pay for that movie. But if I'm going to get a 6 or 7 episode series out of it, that's even better.
Well, and in that one in particular, their chemistry is going to work amazing in TV show. I'm telling you, watch what I tell you. They have what every good buddy cop movies had. Those Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan have.
Black and one's white. Yep, I know you're
That's
right.
exactly what it is. That is the main. That's why we started this.
Best ones are one black, one white.
Well, that's why we started this show the way we did.
Travis
Travis held auditions, and
white people was boring.
The Hispanic guy got kicked out. So here I am.
2 white people is boring, and 2 black people is right on.
Yeah.
You need the white black dynamic. You have to have it.
But the coolest thing is like the way that these TV shows are going to function for the movies, the way that the solo movies function for the team up movies before. So you'd have your Avengers movies, and you'd have the cool solo movies to keep us informed what happened between. Well, now you have this third layer down here to function between the solo movies, and it's going to be pretty soon. We're all just going to be living inside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It seems so.
Yes,
that should be fun.
And the Star Wars universe.
Right.
And the Star Wars, can't forget that. Are you going to go to that Disney's
Galaxy's Edge?
Yeah, I was commenting on Twitter the other day that Slash Film, which is the biggest movie fan site on the planet, has basically become a travel log.
Yeah.
Like it stopped becoming like a movie site, and now it's like a travel log because all they do is post Disney shit. Like that's all they do is post shit from Disney's theme parks now.
Yeah, I mean, in their defense, there's been a lot of news lately.
I'm jealous because I'm not being invited to go and check out every new fucking land that they open up.
Right.
I was like, yeah, I don't really read the site to read how you rode this ride. I don't give a shit. I would rather experience it myself than
I mean,
what you thought of it.
I'm all about it. I'll tell you, I am totally excited to go. I'm not making a special trip, and I would prefer to go in like a year or two when it calms down a little bit. You know, some Wednesday in the middle of November when nobody else is there. Because I just remember when I went to Harry Potter World the first time, just how blown away I was by
it's awesome.
the immersiveness of everything and how I mean, does it feel like you're there? No, but I mean, if you let yourself get into the feeling, it's very cool to see if you're a fan. And I'm a little let down by the fact that, I mean, it's $1 billion expansion, so I know they got to make money. but they're making it everywhere else. I mean, I'm a little let down by the money they're charging for a lot of stuff. And, the fact that most of the entertainment that you hear about is cycled around a multi-$100 product you have to buy, like the droid factory that you have to buy a droid to go into, the lightsaber factory that you have to buy a $200 lightsaber to go into. And the other main ride's not even open yet. But I definitely am looking forward to going to it. I think it's super cool. I mean, the Orlando one is going to be even more awesome with the hotel. Where they make you dress like a Jedi, and that even might be a little bit much for me, but I'm willing to see where they go with it. But yeah. And speaking of Disney, we got Toy Story 4 next week.
We do. Did you see it the other day?
I did not see it. Nope. I'm gonna have to either go Thursday night or I think are there any screenings this week for it?
We're screening on Monday, like tomorrow.
Yeah. Ooh. I think I signed up for that one. I better clear my schedule.
Yeah. My review is already up over at punchdrunkcritics.com. If anybody's curious, you can already get my thoughts on it. So it's already out there. It's Toy Story, so you probably already expect a certain level of quality. So
yeah, I think we can all agree that the best thing to come from Toy Story 4, no matter how good or bad the movie is the fact that it came out the same time as Child's Play, and we got all those awesome Child's Play posters where Chucky's killing the toys from Toy Story.
I guess. I'm salty towards Child's Play because they aren't doing any screenings of it. They held all their screenings only for New York and LA, and they're not doing them anywhere else.
It's going to suck. I mean, it's not going to be good. You can take one look at that damn doll and realize how bad it's going to be.
It's probably going to be a bad movie. I think they know that. But whatever. Child's Play franchise is a loyal fan base, but it was loyal to the Brad Dourif movies.
Exactly.
That loyalty, I don't think, extends to this new techno Chucky.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate this movie doing very well.
No.
In coming attractions, it got no applause. Like nobody was excited for it.
As a rule of thumb, and correct me if you can think of an example that goes against this, but as a rule of thumb, if you ever take something and then you add the latest technology to it and call it something new for a movie, it never works out. I mean, you got now this Chucky's Wi-Fi enabled, and it doesn't work. Chucky's
in the cloud. He can do he can do all sorts of stuff. He doesn't really need his knife, although he does apparently use it in the movie too. But it doesn't look great. The best thing about it to me is probably that I get to see Aubrey Plaza, and any chance I get to see Aubrey Plaza, it's a plus.
She scares me in a good way.
Yeah, I know. I think she probably does some really nasty things.
Yeah,
which is pretty awesome. So we're probably we're totally probably wrong.
Yeah.
But we're
yeah. But she seems that way, so it's cool with me. But that seems a good place as any to end the show.
If she wants to talk about it, she can do an interview with us, and we'll talk about it.
Exactly. We are happy.
We'll clear the air.
Yes.
That way.
Absolutely. In person, Skype, however you want to do it, Audrey.
The news that we've thrown out there about her.
So. All right, well, we got Toy Story 4 next week, and obviously the news and everything else that's coming out. And we can probably do a look ahead since it's a light week for movies. We'll probably do a look ahead at the next month of stuff that's coming out.
You know what we should do next week? We should do our best movies at the half point of the year, because we're in June. We're coming towards the end of June. We should do our top 5 movies for the first half of 2019.
Done. Let's do it. So next week, you've heard it here first. We'll be doing top 5 of the first half of 2019. God, I can't believe this year's half over already. But yeah.
3 weeks until Comic-Con, baby. Well, I'm off until Comic-Con.
You're off until Comic-Con?
Comic-Con's in a month. I'm at the point where I'm excited now.
Oh, I thought you said you're off work until Comic-Con.
We're in a month, so we're within a month. This is the time where I start getting excited.
Yeah. God, I can't imagine. One day, one time. I say this every year. If you guys go back through the years of us doing these shows, then you can right around this time every year you can hear me saying that on every single show. So,
man, you could go.
No, I know. I'm gonna try. Not this year, but some year. But until next week, I'm John. That's Travis. There we go. And this has been Smash Cut. Check us out next week, Sunday, 2:00, and punchdrunkcritics.com every day for all the news until then. See you guys later.
Later.